Ever thought there should be a book club for movies? We're your new favorite pod. Never doom scroll a streaming service again and end up not finding a single thing to watch.
Every month we'll pick a genre or topic and choose movies that are streaming across platforms to watch and talk about. Also, all movies can be drinking games, right? Join the conversation in the next meeting of the Monthly Movie Club podcast. Welcome to the latest meeting of the Monthly Movie Club podcast. I'm your host Mario, here with my lovely co-host and wife, Jen. This month's topic is Timey, Wimey movies. And this week's movie was Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel, directed by Gareth Kerevic, and it could be found streaming on HBO. So many versions of time travel that it's really hard to pick some movies that...
So hard to narrow down. I think because there's so many good time travel movies that we love the topic so much. Yeah. It's really hard to narrow down to a very short list. I wish we could do them all year long.
So I wrote down this list from a YouTube channel that I like watching. You know me, I like watching it late at night all the time, from the New Rock Stars, and they did a whole thing about categorizing time travel. So I'm going to go down the list and then we'll see where this movie kind of applies in all of that. So they had the fuck it time travel, which was, you have a device, you can time travel, anything goes. And their examples were like Back to the Future and Bill and Ted. Then there's the like branch realities time travel.
Alternate versions.
Yeah, or like multiverses and things like that. So of course the MCU starts dealing with that, with the Avengers and stuff like that. All of that just got overly complicated for me, but they did kind of point out, which I was like, okay, like I knew this, but like now putting it into context makes a little more sense when they talk about the difference between Back to the Future 2 and the original. The original was, we have a time traveling car. What would happen? In Back to the Future 2, they have to start thinking about, okay, wait, what's the consequence of what just happened? Of if this happens, now how does that affect the future?
And there's different versions or different versions of you or different timelines of you in the same timeline.
Yeah, because in the original movie, the entire movie takes place back in the 50s and he's just disappearing from existence, right? Because of what he's done. So the picture that he has is his evidence of him altering something that he needs to fix. Right. Yet in part 2, there's the this happened, Biff got the book, and now when he travels back to what he thinks is his present time, timelines have been altered. So now there's an alternate reality, and they start actually adding a little bit more logic to it. Then we have time dilation movies, which center with, the idea that time is either moving faster or slower to the characters in the setting that they're in relative to everything else around them. A movie that we saw that was really fun with that was The Cave, where, a group of people walk into a cave, and as they keep getting deeper and deeper, they see people from different points of history that have also tried to explore the cave, but they can't make their way back out because as they keep making their way back out, time has been dilated to like, it'll take you forever to get out. The This Has Always Happened movie of time travel, which is very much of like the reason the time travel is happening is because it needs to happen because it has always happened. Mm-hmm. Their example was like the Terminator, John Connor sends... in the original movie, John Connor sends one of his soldiers to protect his mother from the Terminator that is being sent by Skynet. Yet, the soldier that he sends does it with his mom and is his father. And that's how John Connor is born. So, he needs to send that guy back to make sure that he's born. So, it's like, it has to happen. If it doesn't happen, then none of it it all ceases to exist. And then the seeing the future or the kind of premonition type time travel. And the I think they gave a couple of other examples, but to me, really, the prime example for that is like Final Destination, right? Kid gets the premonition about the plane. He freaks out. Everybody gets off the plane. Plane blows up. And then now that one.
For me, that one, I wouldn't say that one is time travel. Yes, it's a glimpse into future or what was supposed to happen, but that's not technically time travel.
It's not time travel. I think it's the idea of that one is more of like the premonition or the ability to see a possible future,
Right.
and then altering the course of that. The example they gave was a movie I've never seen, but it was something with like Nick Cage where like he can see like a few seconds ahead of time, and so like every time like he's being shot at and things like that, and he's able to dodge the bullets because like he knows where they're going to be. But to me, Final Destination fits in that category.
It's a loose one for me. I can see it, but I can argue against it.
And of course, the time travel of all time travel movies is the time loop, Groundhog Day. It's you're stuck in a loop of time doing the same thing over and over until whatever is causing that thing, be it supernatural or be it an actual device, breaks or finally changes and lets you out of that loop, right? Mm-hmm. So like you might, like in Groundhog's Day, he died, he would go to sleep, or once it got kind of like past midnight,
reset, he'd be back.
He'd be reset and he'd wake up to Sonny and Cher every morning. And then these last two were a little out there for me in the kind of explanation. I know I tried explaining it to you beforehand, and I think you're in the same camp of like,
timey-wimey is very timey-wimey for me. It's so hard for me to grasp the, what's going on. So go ahead. Yeah, you'll have to say it again.
So the last two are the unstuck mind and the unstuck body. So the examples of those things. The unstuck mind was, the example given was X-Men Days of Future Past, which is where the consciousness of someone travels through time to affect the timeline, right? So in Days of Future Past, it's the one where like they gather the original X-Men. So Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier, and what's his name? Wolverine?
Hugh Jackman.
And Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and I think Storm was there, Halle Berry, like, and it's this crazy future where the big Sentinels are actually like full on like rounding up and eliminating mutants and stuff. Yeah. And so Professor X is able to send Wolverine, because he's the only one that would be the same person in the past, mm-hmm. or the person that would be able to handle what would be going through his mind. So they send him back, and then they get the cast of like, when they redid X-Men and had all the new actors with like James McAvoy and whatnot. But it was Hugh Jackman. It was Wolverine with all the knowledge of the current present, that
jumping back his into mind, himself, right?
His jumping back into his own mind in the like 70s or whatever it was, and then trying to change what the future would unfold to be. That one gets a little weird, because then you start dealing with like, okay, if he's being sent back, it's the same idea of like the whole paradox thing. Like if you send someone back, change it, it's going to create an alternate timeline, mm-hmm. or what? Even if it's
that route has to follow the what was the one that you said where it's like it's always been that way.
Yes, it's this has always happened.
Yeah. It would have to include that rule.
Well, the in order for this has always happened thing to be valid is, no matter what he does, they will still get to that shitty version of reality where the mutants are being hunted. They're sending him back to change it, and he does, right?
Oh, yes, he does.
Yeah. So now he
So he's had all those years of knowledge, but he's back in this timeline now.
yeah, and then now when he's back in this timeline, he's the only one
Right.
that remembers or has memories
Or knows that something could have
that there
been
was
different.
there's an alternate timeline. Yeah. So, yeah. And then the unstuck body was when you're the physical person, the physical body, you're traveling contrary to regular time, and really the only example for that right now is Tenet by Christopher Nolan, where like, it was like a heist but going backwards through time, where just things got, just in Christopher Nolan fashion, super heady, super confusing really quickly, where like you go into a box, something happens, and then as you're experiencing time backwards through normal time that everybody else is going through. So you're able to interact with things differently. I don't even want to try to explain it, but
I'm gonna have to watch that one again.
yeah. But yeah, those were. I think they did a really good deep dive on all of that, and I know that their initial kickoff was based on another fun YouTube channel called like Minute Physics that kind of went over there and kind of showed things visually. I think I might show you that one later.
I saw that one. Yeah, I know. I saw it.
Oh yeah. So like he shows things by like the actual like arrows and branches and things, and it makes things a lot more palatable. So yeah, where do you think this month's movie of frequently asked questions lies within this matrix of time travel types, categories?
Well, obviously, they don't know they're jumping through time until it happens. They can't control it at all.
Okay.
They don't even know what's causing it.
They don't know, but it is okay. Okay, keep going.
So I don't know.
I would put it in the fucking time travel category. They're using the restroom as this time travel thing, right? That's where the time travel happens. Whether or not they know how to control it, that's just the thing that allows them to time travel. Mm-hmm. But they're also nerdy enough to know and to try not to affect things. So like they know, but they would know this list. They would know this trope, right? Like, and so they know what the rules are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But I would still kind of maybe classify it in the first, like, fuck it, let's find out what's gonna happen, or let's try to avoid, So yeah, that I think it would totally go into that. So the synopsis of this movie is: while drinking at their local pub, 3 social outcasts attempt to navigate a time travel conundrum. And that's the description that was on IMDb. I think it was also the description that was on HBO. But yeah, it's basically a movie about 3 friends who happen to find themselves time traveling while they're at a pub. And so, the entire movie, it's one of these movies where like the entirety takes place essentially on one set, right? There's one location where this entire movie takes place. It's not like Back to the Future where
he's running across town.
Yeah, he's all over Hill Valley, or Terminator, where they're like all over the city. Well, was original term? Yeah, it was in LA, so it was all over LA or whatever. No, this takes place all within the like confines of one pub, one building. So in that sense, you can say that the time travel is localized.
Yes.
The time travel here will always take you to a different point in time of that pub.
Yes. The main characters in this movie are Ray, Toby, and Pete. They're the 3 guys that are in the pub. They're just chatting, having a couple of pints. They're talking about how nerdy Ray is.
They're talking about their future aspirations because Ray gets fired from his job. Ray being played by Chris O'Dowd. So anybody who's familiar with like the IT crowd, he was also in a TV show on Apple TV, a thing with the like fortune telling machine. Either way, really funny actor, super tall. But yeah, he gets essentially, the movie starts off with him getting fired from his job. So that's one of the reasons why they're at the pub in the first place, is to kind of make him feel better and be like, what are you going to do with your life now? And then Toby, so Ray and Toby are the two, out of the trio, are the two like sci-fi nerds or science fiction. He keeps correcting everyone. It's not sci-fi. And then their third friend, Pete, he's the non-nerdy friend. He's the skeptic of whatever they say when they start bringing up like rules of time travel and things like that. But he's like, you can tell that they've all been friends for like a really long time. And then the last main character in the movie, really, there's four main characters, is Chrissy, that's played by Anna Faris. She does have a very early 2000s Anna Faris, wispy ditzy thing going on.
Yeah, like a very spacey voice.
Yeah.
Or character, yeah. I'm not a fan of that, but it gets better throughout the movie. So I'm okay with her by the end.
So from there, what did you think, or you know?
You know, I wrote down what the guys were wearing because that stood out for me. Ray had a shirt of the recycle logo with the arrows, like the triangle and the arrows.
Yeah, so it's basically kind of a little inside joke of like
kind of like in the loop.
In a loop of
of time. And Toby had the 20-sided die, which to me kind of points out the different timelines or different places you can jump to. There's just multiple outcomes that you can land on.
Okay.
And Pete had just a plain white tee. He's like you said, the skeptic. Just doesn't care about all this timey-wimey stuff. Something I thought fun to point out.
Yeah, I don't think I picked up on
the shirts.
On the shirts, I picked up on the 20-sided die, but I just kind of chalked that up to like an icon of nerdiness, right? Mm-hmm. Like the 20-sided Dungeons and Dragons type dice that you would have. Yeah. I didn't pick up on the recycle shirt or anything like that. So the first thing that I kind of picked up on was in the opening of the movie, it's Chris O'Dowd at his job, which he is a space ranger at a small little like shitty theme park. But when he has a very distinct Irish accent, right? But when he's playing this space ranger, he straight up has an American accent. Like it's almost like a Texas drawl type thing. Like,
I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, he does, and it's also because like I was like, wait, his voice sounds a little weird, and then I'm like, okay, he's doing an accent, and later on he does crack a joke at like, oh, by the way, everyone in the future American.
Oh yeah, he does say that.
So it's just a fun little like weird quirk that his character had like at the beginning, and you know, he freaks out all these kids, and you just see one kid throwing up because like, you know, he's going so intense, the script goes so intense about this whole like, we must destroy these aliens. And I think there's also a fun like just listening to the script part of all of that, where he's like, these aliens are not sentient or not a threat to us in any way, but they can be, so we must destroy them. And then all the kids just freak out. So he gets fired and is the thing that kind of gets the whole story going. But yeah, the fact that they're friends, like you can tell that they're friends really, like they're really good friends. They're ribbing each other the entire time. They're buddies. They go to a movie, you know, they crack jokes about the movie. They go to a pub, you know, they're trying to figure out like what's next, what's with life. And of course the non-nerdy friend, as they keep talking about like, you know, they're writing their letter to Hollywood of like, stop making shitty movies. The friend makes, you can really tell that he's like playing it off to them as like, no, I honestly don't know the difference, but like really driving home that, yes, I do know the difference, of cracking the kind of Star Wars, Star Trek joke. And both of them are just like, it like gets under their skin.
Like they're like grinding their teeth. They're so upset about it.
which is funny to see, like, that dynamic of like how they're going to be this whole time, right? And of course, the skeptic is the one that kicks off all the time travel.
He's the one that walks away and stumbles upon this time travel.
Yeah. I mean, just before all of that too, though, Ray does meet up with Cassie.
Cassie. It's Cassie.
Did I say Chrissy earlier?
You said Chrissy.
I wrote down Chrissy. It's Cassie. Let me just double check.
I remember it's Cassie.
Yeah, it's Cassie. So I'm sorry, it was Cassie. Cassie is played by Anna Faris. So Ray and Cassie have like their little interaction, and they, she kind of fangirls on him essentially, and he has no idea why. So he's just like, did these guys put you up to it? Like, I just got fired. They're probably trying to cheer me up or whatever. But that whole thing of her, that's the Anna Faris you don't like. The kind of ditzy, wispy, scary movie Anna Faris.
Yeah.
I know we also mentioned to each other that like she changes her tone a little bit throughout the movie, and I think it's a little bit more of like this version of her that's fangirling on with Ray is the junior time traveler. She's the one that's a time traveler. She fixes time leaks. That's her job. But she is new to the whole thing. She's green. So she's the one that's... Yeah.
Even then, though, I don't think that's the right character to have at the beginning of her timeline in this movie. Because someone like that doesn't grow. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like if you're a spacey girl, you're gonna always be a spacey girl, no? Why would her character change with like if the timeline that we see of her it spans over a year?
Yes, it does span over time, and so it's something that we see every time we see her. There's been another
like
gap
months,
in time,
yeah.
6 months, maybe a year or whatever. So
but
she's maturing.
I'm just saying that the beginning character she chose to act with doesn't seem like that character would grow to what she is. Usually when she plays that character, it's throughout the whole movie. She's that same girl.
Yeah. I mean, you've only got like 90 minutes of a movie to show a character arc, so it makes sense. But yeah, she does tend to play that. I mean, I think this is also around that time. This movie came out in 2009 in the UK, 2010 here in the US. It was an HBO film, so it went straight to HBO. But it was around that time where she was doing those like scary movie, and like that was her character, and that's what she was known for. So yeah, and then so we were saying Pete was the first guy to
actually time travel.
Yeah. And yeah, it's mainly because he has to go take a piss.
When he comes out from the restroom and he has his first experience of seeing the pub full of bodies, and you can tell something terrible has happened here. He sees himself. I couldn't recognize that was him. So thank goodness he said something, because I wouldn't have known that was him. But he goes back into the restroom. I would throw up too. I think if I saw that, I think I would throw up right away.
Did he throw up?
I wrote down that I would throw up too. So I'm assuming he did. Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't say two. I said, I just wrote that I would throw up. And I think I would.
I think he just panicked.
Seeing something like that. But, he did panic, and he went back outside to see, what was going on. I think I would have stayed in there a little bit longer if I were him. But he does come back outside, and he jumps.
He comes back outside because he thinks he was hallucinating. He was like, what was that? And so like he comes back outside to almost like nervously check again. But when he does, he hears the music and everybody talking. And so he's like, wait, what just happened?
And he's back now. he's back in his original time. He goes to see his friends. What does he do? Grabs his beer, grabs his pint, takes a drink. I would do that too.
He
Honestly,
chugs the whole thing.
he
He
chugs the
downs
whole
the whole
thing.
thing.
But I thought it was funny when his friends mentioned, like, oh, if he pissed his pants, and he said it was not all of it. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, during the conversation when they're at the pub, he's the one giving them shit, especially when Ray comes back after meeting Cassie and saying like, I just met this woman from the future. He's like, yeah, you did. And then now he's just like, I just traveled to the future. You guys won't believe this. And then he invites the guys to go do it with him. And he's like, no, I don't want to go into the restroom. And he just gets pushed in there. And then that's when like they all have to, he's like, I don't know how this works, so let's just do everything the same. And then the whole routine, the whole song and dance that he did the very first time, they all do together. But the best part is that they all do it in this little like conga line, like prom picture.
They probably didn't have to stand that close, but yeah.
Well, as we learned later on, they didn't have to do any of that. They just walk in and walk back out. But yeah, they ended up, I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4. Pete goes 5, 6. Jump 7 times in the movie. So the first time is the one that we were just talking about. Pete goes by himself, comes back. He doesn't know when that timeline is, and then by the end of the movie, you find out that timeline is actually like the same night. It's the same night that all of that happens. So he only travels like a few minutes, like maybe a half hour into the future or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then he gets back into there, goes back to present time. That's the second one. They all go in there. They do the whole little shtick. When they come back out,
they see themselves.
Yeah, it jumps back maybe about an hour or something, and they all they're like, nah, this didn't work. You're full of crap. And then as they walk out, and the moment they see themselves, they're like, they had that kind of like stone face of like, oh, that's us right there. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna back up.
I love Toby there because he walks up and like he doesn't believe this is anything different. So he walks up to the table. He can hear everyone talking, and they all come over eventually, and they look and they're like, oh nope, nope. They just back up.
Yeah, and I know that you liked that they established rules for themselves.
I did. Right? I like hearing the rules.
They're nerdy enough to know that they're in a situation where they're time traveling and they need to follow certain rules, right? Their rules were don't kill anyone because it's going to affect the entire timeline and their entire lineage of people. So wherever you travel, don't kill anyone. Don't sleep with anyone. But the reason they gave that is that it always turns out to be someone from your family. So if you sleep with anyone, it's going to turn out to be like your great aunt or something like that. And then, in funny British guy humor the entire time, don't touch yourself is the joke. But, it's basically don't interact with your past self if you're there.
Continuum.
Yeah, they keep talking about paradoxes, and they're smart enough to know about all that. They've seen Back to the Future, they've seen Terminator, they've seen all of these movies, But yeah, they see themselves, they're freaked out, they don't want to go into the restroom anymore, so they hide in a closet. And just the idea of okay, we just gotta wait this out until we catch up to the normal time. And so they're doing that, Ray has the idea of I need to go talk to Cassie because she's the time traveler. She'll understand. Of course she doesn't. She thinks it's...
Yeah, don't believe her.
And then, yeah, they have to go pee again. They don't want to go into the men's restroom because that's where the bad things have happened. And so they go into the women's. And turns out it doesn't matter. It's both the men's and women's restroom.
Something's going on in that pub's restroom.
So when they come out to the apocalypse. And the pub is there's snow everywhere. It's the nuclear apocalypse. There's the city has been destroyed. Pete freaks out, runs back into the bathroom
by
himself into the women's bathroom, and then immediately comes out of the men's bathroom with a full-on beard. And he's like, don't go in there. Like, I think those jokes of like just playing with the idea of how long time travel episodes happen. I think just before that they did the whole thing with Anna Faris where like she tells him, "Oh, you're stop playing around or whatever," and then she walks out the door and then she immediately walks back in. A second later,
yeah.
And it's been another year or whatever that they've been trying to fix whatever leak has happened.
I think Pete was in there.
I think at one point he says like 2 months.
It says 2 months. Like something about being alone and hunting.
Yeah, like he said he walked back in and at one point just kept falling to like a jungle floor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then he said that every time he walked in and out of there, he hoped that he would run into them. So he eventually got to that same time point and to meet up with them. But now he has a full-on beard. And because it's snowy and everything, they look for like through the lost and found, and that's how they get those hoodies and the red shirt that he's wearing and all of that. The next time they go into the restroom, when they finally decide, hey, let's take our chances somewhere else, they show up to an Imagineers party. That's what he preferred to call himself, an Imagineer rather than like a sci-fi nerd or whatever.
Science fiction
nerd, sorry. So the Imagineers party is like a party where everybody's cosplaying as them, and they're finally like...
They give out awards at this party.
Best
Toby. Best Pete was actually pretty funny that he got his own. He got his own award. I thought that was pretty.
He won the own award. But yeah, that's where they first... Oh no, back in the apocalypse, they see the mural, but they see parts of it. And then at this Imagineer party, they see the rest of the mural. And then, you know, they go back with Millie, who says that she works with Cassie. Millie is another time-traveling fixer. And she does take them back to their proper time. And so now they're in their proper time, finally back. But it turns out that she's an editor. And, you know, Cassie explains what an editor is. It's basically fanatics that want to time travel and essentially murder artists at their prime so that they don't have a downhill. They don't have a you were never good after this. So she came to make sure that they died, right? Yeah. And then the whole movie gets solved by the beer. Like erasing the piece of paper that they were made famous for.
Yeah. And everything's like reset.
Yeah. So everything, you know, they like, yes, the entire scene happens in the pub. Everybody dies. Young Pete walks in from the very beginning of the movie, freaks out and leaves. And then Ray is like trying to reach the piece of paper to try to destroy it, knocks over a beer that essentially takes the ink off the paper. And now we enter this paradox mode where if the thing that made them famous was the paper and the paper has been erased, then they never become famous. And so time resets essentially for them.
That future never happens.
That future never happened, but they retain the knowledge of what did happen. Of Cassie, of Pete being in the prehistoric jungle for 2 months. All of that has still happened to them. It's just the timeline has reset. So honestly, it's a whole mix of those.
That's true.
of the categories from earlier. But yeah, that was the movie. I mean, I think it was really fun. This is one of those movies where we get to experience the fun of like, what if nerds that like geek out over this stuff actually get put into that situation, right? Mm-hmm. So in this world, Back to the Future exists, Terminator exists, Doctor Who exists. Like all of those things exist for them, so they know what those rules are when they're time traveling.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the
it's not a brand new concept.
Yeah, because then you get a bunch of these movies where it's like, oh, this is the first time anybody's ever time traveled or had the idea of time traveling. Like they've never seen a movie where someone time travels. Or the version of like Zombieland, where like they know or they're aware of what zombies were in movies and stuff and what those rules are and that they apply. So that's what they're doing. And so now we're at the point of our movie rating. What did we think? And for time travel, I think we're going to use DeLoreans as our rating scale. It's a very iconic time travel device. It's the thing that we all know. Like, I mean, ask anybody, pick a time travel movie, they're automatically going to say Back to the Future. Like 9 times out of 10. So for me, a good time travel movie is a movie that not only fits, in one of those categories, but follows certain logical rules of what we would theoretically know as time travel, right? So if you were to mess something up in your own timeline, that would create a paradox. You don't want to be doing things like that. You things that you do will have effects in the future, or when you start thinking of alternate realities, like things that you do will lead you to a different reality. So don't do that because it's going to screw you up. You're never going to get back home, right? Things have a consequence whether or not they're explicit, but at least they're somewhat thought of. And so I would rate this, I would give this 5 DeLoreans. 4.5 DeLoreans.
Why did you change your mind?
I changed my mind mainly because I do think that having the entire movie being a little meta with them knowing about time travel tropes and knowing about the rules and things like that, it was really fun. But I know that we were kind of talking about that whole ending of like wiping out the paper and having them reset time. Like, would it make sense for them to reset time in that mode and them have the knowledge of everything, right? Because if they were to reset time and the movie jumps all the way back to them being in the pub, then none of, the whole cause and effect thing, that never would have happened. And so, yes, the timeline would be reset, but then they would have never experienced anything. Yet Pete has been, in survival mode for for months, and the other guys essentially died, right? They all died. So I'll take half a DeLorean off of that. But overall, I think it was a fun movie.
I think it was such a fun movie. I loved the humor in it. I loved the kind of like that buddy friendship that they had, and they kind of seeing that this new experience basically blows your mind, right? Something that you geek out on forever, and then now you get to experience it. So I thought that was pretty fun. I would give this 5 DeLoreans.
Okay.
Out of 5 DeLoreans, because I think it had enough timey-wiminess in it to kind of make me think about it, to make me really like understand what's going on. It had just enough complexity to it, but wasn't too far-fetched. I know what you're saying towards the end. I was very confused, why it wouldn't happen again, or why destroying that put them back to a reset. But I think your explanation to me last night kind of put it together. If that piece of paper had made it out, it would have been, the guys still would have died that night, and it would be a different reality with them dead.
Yeah.
Right. But because they did, or he was able to destroy that, it resets them to back to when they were sitting there. It makes sense to me now.
Okay. I think I talked myself out of it. So that's why I gave it a 4.5.
You sounded really knowledgeable yesterday.
I mean, it makes sense. I think the only part that I'm a little hung up right now on is the them retaining the knowledge part, because you're essentially saying time moved around them and now it's them. It's the same people that we saw, just reset. Still, it was a fun movie. And now we're on to cool trivia. I do like to dig into the IMDb trivia section for pretty much every movie we watch. So, and I wanted to always pull out any cool, fun notes that people have left about the movie, or articles that might have been written about it. And I think out of the ones that were on there was a handful of them, but the two that I thought were really fun, one of them we both caught instantly, was, if you didn't catch it, when Pete goes into the restroom for the very first time, right? The very first act of time travel, and he's doing his little song and dance, and as he's peeing and checking his time, he lifts up his glasses, and it's basically he strikes the Michael J. Fox, Marty McFly pose, the Back to the Future pose from the poster. He's like glasses up on his head, and he's looking at his watch, which I thought was fun. The entire movie has really fun little nods.
Yeah, it does.
To time travel. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? And then I thought this one was really cool, which was nods to time travel that I didn't see straight up. And it said, at the beginning of the movie, the three guys go to a movie theater, to, like, he just got fired. They're trying to feel a little bit better. They go watch a movie. When they leave the movie and they start talking like, geez, Hollywood sucks and blah, 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 there's 3 posters behind them for movies. And the movies are A Boy's Life, which is the original title to E.T., the extraterrestrial. Watch the Skies, which is the original title for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And Paradox, which was the working title for Back to the Future Part 2. And funny enough, they're all Steven Spielberg. I mean, granted, the Back to the Future, it was produced by him, not by him, but still, he was involved with all 3 of those movies.
Fun.
And then you can do the drinking game. I mean, I've been talking a lot, the same way that I got into the trivia. And so now
so now,
what about our drinking game for this movie?
All right. Every movie we watch can technically be this movie for me. 0 drinkies.
It was 0 drinkies. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
0 drinkies because they did not mention the title of the movie. They not throw a gun.
So for everyone who's just listening in, the rules of the drinking game for every single movie are someone has to say the title of the movie within the context of the movie. Someone has to throw a gun after they have run out of bullets, and throwing it by using it as a weapon, not just throwing it to the side. Willem scream, the iconic, ah!
I'm sorry, what was that?
Ah! And go on.
You could have kept going and we could have put that in front.
Okay. And so these rules apply to any movie, whether it be anything from John Wick to 101 Dalmatians. I mean, it is what it is. So how many drinkies do you give this?
I would give it 0 drinking. No title mentioned. No gun thrown. There was some type of...
He had a prop gun.
It was a prop gun.
But he didn't throw it.
Was it a super soaker?
It basically looked like a super soaker. Like a cosplay fixed up super soaker.
Was Millie holding a weapon towards the end?
No, she had like electrical powers.
And like her death stare.
Her
Care Bear death stare.
Yeah. She, in the future, their time traveling and communication, all of that was like
in their bones.
Surgically into their bones or whatever. So she had weapons on her bones.
Right. And no scream. So
yeah.
0 drinkies.
So you'll be leaving this movie sober, but still fun ride. Still fun to watch. So thank you for coming to this month's meeting. We'll have another time travel movie at some point for this month. And hopefully you'll join us along with that one too. So
happy streaming, everyone.
Happy streaming, everyone.